Wow. I think we are right on time, folks. So it's Monday at 9 p.m. Eastern time, and it is our rare figure reaction shows. We want to appreciate everybody who is joining us live. We want to appreciate everyone who's going to be joining us on the replay club. I am True Star Screamer. With me is Mike from Junkyard Crafts and Builds, and
Hello.
down below us is our special guest tonight, freelance illustrator, Mr. Quinton Bedwell. And you guys here, for all of you who are new, we appreciate you coming by. For all of you who are regulars, always fantastic to see you. But more importantly, anything else, let's roll that footage. That was the wrong footage.
Whoopsie.
It was good though.
That was good. Seriously, where's my footage? Oh, there it is.
Yep.
Bring it up, bring it up, bring it up, bring it up. I swear that's never happened to me before. It's ever since I got in my 40s, it goes off easier, I guess.
It happens in the 40s. All happens in the 40s.
All right. Well, now that we are on here, again, welcome everyone in the chat. Emo Series, what's up, man? I got a chance to meet him at Joe Fest last year. Great guy. Cutthroat Comics, welcome aboard. And of course, the Titan and Toy Mafia are regulars. Thank you once again. So to kind of peek why we have this great opportunity to talk tonight, one of the things that always gets me in regards to collecting, it's a combination of senses, whether it's touching that figure, looking around at the quantities, talking to each other and getting impressions on what everyone likes, their opinions, seeing displays. But what really sells it right off the jump is the way the figure is depicted. And we have different varieties of doing that, but the most creative way is through illustration. And who we have on here tonight has been in the business for 16 years. As Dave was saying, Quinton, you are well versed in this art form. So I would like to have the opportunity for you to just kind of introduce yourself to everyone, and we'll get going here.
Well, Quinton Bedwell, illustrator, writer, comic artist, graphic artist. I don't just do toy packaging. I do game art. I do comics. I do T-shirts, cups, bags, whatever. I mean, printing and just the the visual stuff is just the tip of the iceberg on all the stuff I do. If it's got anything to do with art where I can apply my illustration craft, then I do it. The toy packaging and stuff has kind of always been a dream of mine, along with comics, and it was a little late coming, but man, it's been a real ride, a real blessing. The way I fell into it. I do YouTube art and stuff, and I'm just really enjoying it. It's been a good time for sure, and I love Valaverse. I love Action Force and Action Farce. I like to laugh. I like YouTube, and I just like to apply my talents, my gifts to stuff that I'm into, and that's me. That's what I like to do. So it's really hard. Sometimes you get tied to stuff you don't necessarily really like, and you do it, but you don't really have the soul and the fun in it. But with this stuff, I just love it. Obviously I'm a collector, so
got one or two things back there.
Yeah, just a few.
All right. Well, I guess with that, is this just self-taught with your art form, or did you go to any sort of school?
I've never been formally trained. I did go here and there. I took some classes on portrait art when I was younger. I did like I learned how to airbrush back in the 90s. You know, stuff like that, but nothing formal, no college, none of that stuff. I mean, but you know, when you love something, no matter what it is, you will do all of the study and the hard work that you have to do to be able to get better at it. And my focus was to get into comics. And if you haven't heard, comics used to be a very hard business to get into, and I've been ripped by the best. I mean, I've gotten rejection letters and all that stuff, and finally, kind of my story is I finally kind of got up to the level, and when I did, the comic industry was pretty much gutted, and
I know that
not
feeling.
not only that, but once I finally got to where I could compete, it kind of wasn't a place I really wanted to be once I saw what all was coming out, you know. And so then I just decided to go my own way with it. And, you know, so I started doing my own stuff. And then
Cool.
every now and then I would go off and do some stuff for other people. So,
Yeah. Okay, so when you say that you had rejection letters, I'm assuming that we get it from the big three.
oh, yeah. Marvel,
I mean-
DC, Image, individual creators like Eric Larson. He was especially he was
Ugh.
especially he grew me quite a bit.
Okay.
But
Really?
well, yeah, I mean, yeah. So some of these guys, and look, I'm not throwing shade at anybody, but you know, some of these artists take it from the standpoint of they're going to rip you hard, for one, to make sure that this is what you want to do, and two, you know, they're going to they're going to be friendly enough to tell you exactly how it is and how much you stink, you know, so to make you get better, to make you,
True.
and if you really love it, you'll get better.
Yeah.
And you know, I understand it, I get it. You know, a lot of people though, they don't take criticism well. And they get criticism and they just, you know, they start railing on people. And you know, look, if somebody says your stuff stinks, then get better. And if you think that they're basing it off of something that is maybe, you know, BS, then, you know, bypass it. You know, you just got to work your craft, get better at it, keep on working it, and it, you know, it'll happen, you know?
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing when I was growing up, my uncle always was like, you know what, if someone says you're stuff, you know, you need to get better at something, then maybe you take their advice and stop, you know, without going as colorful as he is, you know, sitting in your dirty drawers crying about it. Just get up and keep working at it. Is there been a particular comic or character that you wanted to do, that you submitted for, and it just something didn't happen, or I mean, I guess maybe I should say, with your experience in comics and just loving them, what's your favorite characters in comics today?
Well, man, my favorite all-time character as far as Marvel goes is Doctor Doom. He's always been my favorite from
Very
I
nice.
mean, I started out with in Marvel Comics with Secret Wars. And so Doctor Doom was the man, and he has always been the man to me. And then secondarily was Spider-Man, because even though Doctor Doom had just such a solid, to me, the most solid origin story, Spider-Man was always lighthearted. And, you know, I always loved that about Spider-Man. And, you know, in recent years, you know, if you used to read them, it was a lot more lighthearted. Now it's more dismal and depressing and all that kind of stuff.
I will say this: if you haven't read it in a while, the last run of Amazing Spider-Man is the most Spider-Man run I've ever read.
Well, that's good to hear. That is good to hear.
If you like, I don't know if you've got a Comixology or things like that. I'm blanking out the writer. Anything and I kid you not, the supervillain Boomerang was his roommate. Any of that run is the best Spider-Man I have read in the last 15 years.
Well, I'll have to give it a shot.
It will make you smile. It will make you cry. He does. It was the best Spider-Man. We have a guy, Parts Former. I've been trying to get him to read that run. I don't know for how long.
Well, I have to give it a shot then, because that really gives me hope, because there's a lot of stuff that, I would check in over the years, time to time, into stuff and just see where it was at, what it was doing. And sometimes I would be interested, but more and more as we've gotten farther, it just seems like, man, this is not Wolverine. This is not Punisher. This is not, and anyway.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
It ain't, come on. As I said, we're in our 40s. It ain't what it was for us.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm not, if the new generation enjoys it, which I don't particularly think that they're really reaching a lot of people, because I mean the sales reflect it. That's just me. I think it's more ideology and things that are driving things right now. And
well, I'll say this: like the '90s, the big guns and pouches. I can understand why the people who read it in the '60s weren't fans of that either.
Yep, absolutely.
That's how I look at it. It's not ours. This is theirs. But like I said,
it's like this. Look, I tried to introduce Ninja Turtles to my kids, and I tried several times, and they just didn't, they didn't take on it.
Right.
And then out of nowhere,
the Nickelodeon CGI series is the best iteration of it. Period.
Well, this is what happened. Is just out of nowhere, they started getting into Ninja Turtles, but it wasn't the Ninja Turtles that I was introducing to them. It was the 2012 run of Nickelodeon Ninja Turtles, and they fell in love with them. I mean, they were watching them every day. I ended up buying them all the figures and a play set, and they just went crazy. Cool. And I started watching it, and it was actually really good. I couldn't believe how good it actually was.
I can't recommend that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
But that goes to show, though, that they weren't into my Ninja Turtles, but they were into theirs, and that was fine. And I'm sure there's a lot of other stuff. I mean, I'm open-minded about this stuff. I don't.
Oh, I mean,
I will say,
I agree.
If no one's ever watched that 2012 Ninja Turtle show, there is an episode where the 1980s Turtles do show up, and they get
I saw that. Yeah, so it's really good.
That's why I say that is possibly the perfect geek show. So,
and I think we're seeing a lot of introduction into new stuff, but through different ways, for good and bad. I mean, as you were saying with your children picking up TMNT, my son, when he first came back, I couldn't get him to read anything, but you get him in front of Fortnite, and he knew all the lore, the characters behind things. So it's just a different medium that we're all getting used to. And as Cutthroat just pointed out, I mean, the new G.I. Joe series, that's how long has it been since we've had a new run or a continuation on things. And it's not anything new. It's not tied to the new modern classified line. It's made for gentlemen our ages that still want to read that old storyline, and it's drawn or written by the same amazing writer that's been on it for
since the
40 years. 40 years since the Real American Hero line.
Also, the
82, right?
TMNT run is also fantastic because Peter Laird, Kevin Eastman basically rewrote it. I highly recommend that too.
Yeah. Awesome.
There's some good
content. So going into this and exploring, as we have here on the slide, exploring art and character. If we roll to the next one, maybe you can kind of help us out with Silverline Comics. Now, you said before you had some rejection letters here and there, but this company, thankfully for them, brought you on board. So can you tell me about your experience there?
Yeah, well, story leading up to Silverline Comics is back in 2009. I had been submitting and stuff, and I'd finally kind of gotten my comic skills up to par. But I kind of saw what the comic industry was doing, as I said before, and I just decided I was going to do my own thing. So I did do my own thing. I put out my own book, and there was the last thing I did was a Zuda contest for DC. They used to have this contest where you could, do the contest. If you win, you could, have your comic published and all that. Anyway, I did really good on it. I got third, and so I just started doing my own stuff, and it was
Mhm.
good. But then what started happening is I started having trouble with my hands. And when I say trouble with my hands, I'm talking about numbness,
Mm.
tingling, and it got really bad. And over the years, over the next few years, from 2009 all the way up to 2018, like it had gotten to the point where I couldn't even hold things in my hands. And I was
Wow.
still having to work my day job, which I'm a graphic artist in. And I'm telling you, I was taking pain medication. I was taking, and when I say pain medication, I don't mean like, hydrocodone or any of that kind of stuff. I'm talking about just
Mhm.
pain relievers like aspirin, ibuprofen. It's been it had
Mhm.
been a daily thing. And it got so to where I was starting to try to find other stuff that I could do, uh, in the future, because I was like, I'm not going to be able to keep this up. I'm going to have to stop art. I'm going to have to stay. And it was really a really hard time for me. And that's why there's between those times, there's really nothing. And then all of
Mhm.
a sudden, what ended up happening was I got to the point where, and during that time, I would not get surgery because I had met people and talked to them at length about their surgery for carpal tunnel, and they had lost function of and levels of function with their hands, and
Mhm.
it just always scared me. But then eventually it got to the point where I was in so much pain all the time doing anything that I it wouldn't matter if I switched jobs, because there's no job except dancing maybe that doesn't use your hands,
Right.
and so I was like, I've got to have the surgery, and I had the surgery, and I didn't expect much from it. I figured I would come out on but anyway, I got the full range of my hands back with
Okay.
no pain.
Fantastic.
And it was like a second lease on life. Here I've been cranking everything down, preparing for the time when I'm not going to be able to do art at all anymore. And now here I'm back. So then it was like, a time thing, where am I going to set aside time for all this? And I decided, the only time that I had that I could put aside was like my consuming time. So I had to
Mhm.
decide, am I going to be a consumer or a producer? And I decided I'm going to be a producer. And when I did, I started going out looking for extra stuff besides my day job. And I knew Roland Mann through, he worked at Malibu Comics. He was the editor at Malibu way back in the day. For those who remember Malibu, he had a whole team of people, and that is pretty much what Silverline is all the people that you knew back in the 90s for Malibu. They had gotten back together, and they're just kind of rolling out comics on Kickstarter.
Hmm.
and
Okay.
and so that's how I got with them. And he had saw some of my work and put me out there. So, and I just started going, and that is really what started really you know honing my craft again. I was actually able to start leveling up again. So
Okay.
yeah.
Well, can you tell me about some of the selection we have on the screen here? Can you tell me about these characters?
Yep. Wolf Hunter is a 1940s World War II. They had these in real life, called wolf hunters, and they were spy hunters pretty much. And
Okay.
that is a book done by a fellow by the name of Tim TK. You can find him online, and he does that book regularly. They kickstart it whenever he has a new issue. Twilight Grim, that I just did the cover for that. And also on the Night Creeper, that is something that is current with Anthony Horton, who you'll see in the 3POA and other toy things. He has a lot of really, really cool looking comic characters.
Hmm.
I mean, it is really worth checking out. It's called
Okay.
Shoebox Heroes. Um, and we've been talking about doing stuff for the longest, and just trying to match schedules up and workloads and all that kind of stuff. Just hadn't been able to do it yet. So
Awesome.
I'm definitely be checking that
Okay.
out.
yeah,
Yeah,
he's good,
definitely.
and he's got a lot of good people that do work with him, and he's a great artist as well, and he keeps me up to date on stuff that's going on, if there's contests or
Okay.
whatever, and cool
Well,
guy.
if you can,
Cool guy.
yeah, if you can give us the information, we'll definitely update the description and the comments in this stream, and actually, get their information out there to people. So
Sure.
that would be fantastic. All right. So we have Silverline that you've done work with before, and now we can move on. Dave, you can hit the next slide for me. You also, as you said, it's not just comic book pages and that. You do a lot of different type of media. And this, you were telling us earlier, is for a card game. So what
Yes.
can you tell us about this?
Yes. War Infinite is a card game. It is, I would say, developing, but it has already been play tested. Matter of fact, I've got, hold on, let me grab it.
Sure.
I've got it right here. It's Battle in a Box. It has not come out yet. I'm kind of trying to build, a little bit of social media up a little bit before I kickstart it or something to actually get it out to people.
Okay.
But if people aren't going to buy your stuff if they're not aware of you or aware of what you have.
Right.
So you kind of have to build your audience for whatever you're going to do. And this right here, it's a War Reforged, not War Infinite. I changed the name. It's War Reforged, and it's a card game that 2 decks come in a box. You can sit down with somebody and play. And the biggest thing is it's about $25 for both decks, and there'll be expansions that are put out. And
Okay.
it's a really cool game. It's a really economic battle, real world military type game, but it is kind of set in the future, as you can tell by the fella here. He is, got a little bit of sci-fi going on.
Oh, I like it. I've been playing a hell of a lot of Helldivers, and when I first saw that, I'm like, okay, these guys
Yeah,
are blowing up
that's
for
my
democracy.
jam. That's my jam
Oh.
in sci-fi. I love it. Yeah.
Oh boy, I'll just step away for the next 30 minutes. You two can talk about Helldivers because I haven't had a chance to play it yet, and I do have to apologize. The quality of the chat group has gone down because there's this guy called Kato. I don't know if you guys have heard about him or not.
Oh man,
But he says he knows you. I don't know.
That dude.
All right, but so you said like the card game is getting tested. It's going to be out. I mean, as soon as I hear that properly.
Yeah, I'm not putting a date on it quite yet because I just want everything to line up first. I do want to get some stuff going that I have going right now but it is actually complete. It is actually ready to go. It's been proofed. It's been play tested. What you see here, the cards and everything, it's all ready to go. All I have to do is make it available.
Okay.
So
and
I'm
how
just trying to decide how to do it.
Okay, that's what I was going to say. How do you want to plan on releasing that out to everyone? Is this something that's going to be kind of readily available, or are we looking more of a niche or like a virtual store type of element?
What I have right now is it's through gamecrafter.com. And so if any of you guys, by the way, unlike when we were growing up, guys, whatever it is that you have an idea for anymore, you can do it. Like if you want to do comics, you can do comics. If you want to do games, you can do games. It's not like when we were growing up or when we were younger. I mean, this is a wonderful time for creators to be able to do the things they want to do. And gamecrafter.com gives you the ability to make your own board games, your own card games. It's got a storefront that you can put those in for people to purchase. So, I mean, it's pretty much as simple as me pressing publish on a publish button and it being available for everybody to go and get.
Huh. Oh, pretty cool.
Okay.
So, yep. And they do all the printing. It's print on demand.
Remember that for later.
Yes.
Remember that.
Gamecrafter.com.
Those 3 words, print on demand. I want to talk about that later.
Okay.
And
right.
we also have some really nice. Are these the fantasy work that we have here? I know
These are commissions for D&D characters.
Oh,
Yeah, so I got in really heavy when I got my hands back, is the way I always refer to it. After the Dark
Mhm.
Ages, when I got my hands back, uh, it was just a really good. I know a lot of D&D gamers, and I did one, and man, they just really started pouring in after that. And I was like, well, it looks like I'm a, D&D character, you know, artist creator. So that's what I did. And I just did a lot of them. I've got so many, and I have a little bit of a rule that I don't post stuff unless people post it first, and then I'll share it. Because I don't like to,
Okay.
once I do something for somebody, it's theirs, and they get to say, what happens with it. So, these are ones that I asked them, hey, I need some stuff for, my portfolio. Do you mind if I have this somewhere? But
Mhm.
I really try to stick to that rule because I got in trouble once,
oh,
and I
that's all it
decided
takes.
after that I'm not posting anything else that I do for people unless they give me permission or I share it. So
I understand. That's kind of. It might seem a little repetitive in our little chats, but that's one thing I want to make sure is we had your permission for stuff, and
yeah,
I
you were
totally
really good
understand.
about that too. Appreciate that. And genuinely curious, absolutely. Having the artist or the creator mind is a blessing and a curse. It's because as much as it is therapy, to get away from stuff. It's escapism. You get into your own worlds and all that kind of stuff, but it's also kind of a compulsion. If I don't
Hmm.
draw, if I don't do things, if I'm not creating stuff, I even make some dioramas and stuff. If I'm not doing something, I start feeling it, and other people start noticing too, because I kind of start getting a little, you know,
We,
out of
we know about
sorts.
that. We
Old Mississippi
absolutely do.
phrase, out of sorts. Yeah.
I
Mike,
understand.
Rollkeeper knows what it's about. Rollkeeper knows what it's about.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. So okay. So then of course we've got this is some really cool comic art. I have to say. I love that this version of the Punisher. That's why I put that one in the center.
Well, I love the Punisher. He is one of my favorite. And part of the thing about in comics, every character, and I think everybody does this to some extent. You see a character. There's only been one character where I didn't think to myself, man, if I were to do it, I'd do it like this. And the only character that is Doctor Doom. He's the only one that I've looked, or Spider Man. I love Spider Man.
Mhm.
I love Doctor Doom, but there's some that I just felt sometimes where they got it right, but then most of the time they kind of, oh, you didn't push it hard enough. He's gritty, he's
Mhm.
mean, and yeah, I love the Punisher. I love Captain America when they do him right. Um,
I'm with you on that one.
yeah.
Excuse me.
Got another question. We got another question from the audience for you here. Who is currently your favorite artist that you enjoy in comics today?
Favorite artist today,
Hmm.
probably, which he is retiring now, is oh my goodness. And if you hadn't asked me, I would have been able to tell you his name, but his name escapes me. He just did the Doomsday Clock.
Oh
Oh,
gosh.
Oh my
Gary Frank.
gosh. Yes, Gary Frank. Gary Frank is probably man, I look at his work. He is so good. He is so good.
Yeah.
His lines and the way he does shadowing and all that stuff. I mean, he is a magician with ink. I love his stuff. I love Campbell. I love. Um, I mean, There's. I love all the big ones for different reasons. I love David Finch. David Finch is amazing. I mean, and
Fantastic.
and I've seen his work grow. And I mean, I loved it way back when, but I mean, the stuff he's doing now, where seems to be a little bit rougher. I love everything that guy does. But growing up in the '90s, I mean, McFarlane, of course, was my favorite. Jim Lee, Mark Silvestri, all of them were.
I'm sorry. Did I hear Rob Liefeld in that mix?
No, he didn't.
I did not say Rob Liefeld. but I will say about Rob Liefeld, I always envied where he got, but he was also the one that kind of pushed me because, look, if this guy,
If he can do it,
yeah, I could be in there. I could be doing this.
Listen, based
Yeah.
on both the Captain America and that Spider-Man, you are ahead by a low. I'm seeing feet here. I am seeing.
Yeah,
feet.
because you saw the feet. Well, he's had a big, even though it is as it is and history is what it is, he has made a pretty big impact. So
absolutely,
just to say something positive on the thing.
His comic book characters got into a cartoon.
Yep. That's pretty amazing. Yeah.
So when you would say about Gary and the other influences you have, the following question for Cutthroat is, with your favorite artist, who would you want to do a collaboration with? Whether it was just someone who wants to do inks, is there someone that you guys, someone who does amazing like dual page splash pages, or that really fine detail? Or who would you want to work with, and how would you like that to come around?
That's an interesting one.
Oh man, I don't even know. I would love. I am not that great of an inker. I have only, and the only reason why I used to think that I was a great inker, and that's kind of the way it is when you're in your own world and you're in your own head and you're doing your own thing. But then you meet a professional, and then they're like, you ask them, "Hey, what do you think about this?" And they're like, "Well," and they run down the list, and then you see it like you couldn't see it before, but you see what they're talking about. So I am not that great of an inker. I'm more of a penciler is probably where I would go with that. Now my inking has gotten better because I do listen to criticism, and I take I take criticism as and I try to correct or try to meet, try to do better. Um, Man, I don't know.
So you think you're a good inker, huh? Here's a Jay Lee print from '96. What can you do?
Exactly. Yeah.
God.
Well, there was a time, and you don't know these things until you know them. But there was a time when I was just thinking, well, that's just his style. That's just the way he does it. It's all subjective. But and that may be true with some of it, but there is a rule behind a lot of stuff that you don't realize there's a rule behind. There's fundamentals there that are at work that, yes, there is some style involved with it and it's subjective, but there is like a base rule that you're going by to begin with. You understand what I'm saying? So, and when somebody tells you, hey, you're kind of doing this wrong, now that you've asked me finally, so.
Oh, sorry, Dave. I didn't mean to take over, because we've got more questions, man. I love this. I love the interaction that we have within our group here.
She's living up to her name.
Yeah, if you were getting the opportunity to work with an author to do a graphic novel of their work, who would you like to work with?
I would work with anybody. Honestly, anybody who is into the kind of stuff that I'm into. The way Silverline would do it is they would give you 5 different pitches that you could read over, and I really liked the way they did that. And you could decide without knowing who the person was or anything. And then, of course, you would talk to them, and that you would kind of match up that way. And I really enjoyed that. And as long as they're willing to take my questions and not be condescending or any of that kind of stuff, or be available, that's another thing too. Because I've been with writers before that, I mean, like they just give you what they want to give you, and then they just kind of like send you out to you go do it, and then tell you everything you did wrong whenever you send them stuff back. I don't like that. If they're easy to work with, I'm okay with working with anybody. But if there was somebody I had to say, I'd love to do some stuff by, you know, I, I'll just say I'd like to do stuff with Bobby Valla. We've been talking for quite a bit, so we'll see what happens.
Well, I know for a fact he happens to be watching the. No, he's not. But
well, and I think that kind of leads into our next slides here, is that you've taken all this experience, and it's more than just putting it, taking your creativity and putting it in, trying to tell a story with one picture. You've also developed your storytelling prowess and sequential art, which is kind of what we see up here. And I think the two side pieces here are also from this from the card game, if I'm correct.
This from a different thing that is a board game, Relic Quest.
Okay.
Yep. It is a story comic that goes along with the board game. It's not crucial to the board game, but it's kind of made in that world. So.
Okay. And then we were also blessed by seeing this wonderful sequence piece you did a few months back when Gemini came out, and you did this fantastic series of images about her and about some of the swarm that are both creations of Valaverse. And I really loved seeing all the interaction on Facebook when you put those images out. And I'm telling you, whatever you say about your inking, that stuff is phenomenal. So that was
I appreciate it.
Really great. So you kind of say sometimes, the writers, you collaborate well, it helps put together that sequence. Is that kind of like, how do you go through that process of saying, all right, I have this story, I'm kind of breaking it down. How do I go into kind of like, I forgive my crudeness with it, but like the Jenga placement of the images on the page? How do you go through that process?
So, you kind of hit it a little bit different every time, but it usually starts out with an idea or a notion. Sometimes it could be like in movie form. Sometimes it's just a image that you get in your head. And then it's like the narrative just kind of starts building off of it. And then like in your off time when you're doing stuff and it just keeps on creeping into your head. And then it starts kind of building itself in your head. And then, a lot of times what I'll do is I'll just sketch stuff down and in thumbnails, and I'll start setting up panels and all that kind of stuff of, how things would transpire. And that's kind of how I do it sometimes. But like on Action Farce, which I'm sure we'll probably get to later, I actually had to write out the scripts for that, because the scripts, out of respect for Bobby, for Valaverse, for Action Force, I mean, I let him know everything that I was doing step by step. And sure enough, there was stuff that I had to change because of whatever reason, maybe something was a little too controversial, believe it or not, or maybe something was just not, we don't really want to bring that into, or we don't want to highlight that, and it was good that I did that. But most of the time, like when I did this Gemini thing, I had a picture of her behind. She was on the guns, just giving them the what for, and that's how it started. And then the ideas just started rolling from there, and it was like scene after scene just popping in my head. And then I started going to thumbnails, doing this stuff out. As far as the composition, I mean, it's just, I mean, you may go through 5 or 6 thumbnails of pages before you land on one that's like, okay, this is a good panel for this, and it works with the rest of the page. I mean, it can get pretty aggravating sometimes, because you have to think about pacing. You have to think about, there's certain rules to sequential art, like, how big your gutters are from top to bottom and side to side, because of how quick things are happening. And when you go to the next page, you have to think, you can't just carry an action that's happening really fast, over pages. Sometimes you have to do it on that page, and you have to have an ender page. It's a lot of stuff sometimes, and it can get a little confusing. And sometimes it gets to the point where you get a little bit too technical, and you just have to scrap the technical and do what you do. Make it look cool.
So you kind of. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, we'll go ahead. I just have two more questions here. We had to throw out.
Sure.
Once again, listen. We appreciate all these chats, and while you can't give us money, I'd like to say every chat from you guys is a super chat. One from Titan a little earlier. You mentioned how the comic industry is currently gutted, but with the rise of independent stuff, do you feel like it kind of gives you almost like there's hope for it all?
I think there is hope. I think it's just a matter of the right set of things happening. And I think that the potential is there, but I think that there's still some bruises that have to be taken, and I think that there's some, still some people that have to, learn some lessons before it happens. That's just what I think. Because I mean, there's people who get in positions that you're not going to move them until and it just feels like some of these people, they're willing to watch it burn as long as they can get their stuff out there. And if they can't change the way you think about stuff, then they'd rather burn the whole thing down than let somebody have something good and make money off of it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's like it baffles me.
I mean, we see it in the YouTube community as well with reviewers, large channels and smaller. Some of them that their whole concept is just to stir the pot for whatever reason.
Yeah,
small channels. Please.
Well, I swear, if they can't change the audience, then they want this thing to die because the wrong audience is here and they don't want them. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's what's going on. I do see the potential, and I do like that Ripaverse, even Comicsgate, they have their place. A lot of people give them a lot of junk, but hey, different comics, different audiences. If you like this, then do that. If you like this, then do that.
And that's, I was saying, that's kind of like what you had said earlier, the rise of the independent illustrator, the independent writer. There are ways to get your message out, and there are audiences, and it's just that delicate balance, a dance, so to speak, to kind of get your message across while still being respectful for other creators such as
And that's one thing you got to remember too, is whenever you see something that you don't really particularly care for, and that's why I try not to be too critical about stuff, is that, I hear people say, oh, this is just garbage. This is hot garbage. This is trash. And I agree with them, on a lot of the stuff. But at the same time, if it is something, and I'm talking toys, I'm talking creations, any kind of media, if it is obviously something that is of inferior quality, if you get your figure and he's too rubbery, or his joints aren't right, or, if there's something obviously wrong with it, it is garbage. Okay. It's not subjective. It's garbage. They could have done better on quality. But if you got a figure that is just something you really don't like, then you should just say, it's not for me. You shouldn't call it garbage. You ought to be a little bit more grown up about it than, I don't like it, so it's crap, because somebody does like it. It's just not your thing. So,
and then to go back to what you said, also these days, if you're so good at it, try to make your own.
Absolutely. I mean, we're living in a great time.
If you were to put out your own book, would it be horror, superhero, or possibly military?
I think it would be the sci-fi military. That is, I don't know why I'm in that right now. I just love that whole genre.
After we get off the show, after we go off the air, there's a series I'll recommend for you from the 80s you might like.
Awesome. So. Yeah.
So let's keep.
So
I guess move. Yeah.
yeah, I'm sorry. So kind of going, and we'll kind of close out on like the technical side of things and get more into like what drives you going into things today is you through your discussions tonight and how you kind of work your magic in making these images come to life. Are you still a traditionalist in regards to you have to have pen and paper in front of you, or are you kind of adopting more of the virtualized, the more technical drawing pads and programs today, or is it a mix of both for you?
It's a mix of both. A lot of my thinking is done on paper, but more of the doing because of the ease of it, because of the the ability to do things with it. It's easy to send off. It's easy to get approved. If I don't have to, I don't even have a scanner. So like I draw the stuff on paper and then I will redraw it on the computer. So I try to stay up to date technically. Um, you know, so I do both. I use
Okay.
both. They're both good for what they're good for. There are some people who are fully, traditionalists. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean,
Mhm.
it's really good too to be fully traditionalist because the one thing, if you do digital art all the time, you really have nothing to sell after your book comes out, because all you got is prints.
Yeah.
Whereas if you do it traditionally, you've actually got something physical that you can sell after the fact. And that's indeed how people, comic artists have made money in the past is they do and they do their pages on actual Bristol board. They send them off to the company. The company does whatever they're going to do with them. Then they send them
Mhm.
back to the artist so the artist can sell those, for extra money.
Okay.
And that's something that is lost for a person who does strictly digital. But lots of places now only want strictly digital because of the ease of access for them to file transfer and all that kind of stuff. Um,
I'm happy you mentioned that because I just want to lead up to something I know Dave has been asking, off the stream, but I want to set him up for his question about technology today. In regards to different toy companies. And
yeah.
Yeah. So,
before we get into what we see in front of us, Dave, I'll let you ask away.
well, one of the big things is, this came out a couple weeks ago, or maybe it was last month, with Fresh Monkey Fiction. The Big Bad Toy Store little horror military thing. All their box art was shown up, and it was all done by AI.
Mhm.
And I just with there's so many people. I mean, heck, we saw Miss Genuinely Curious. She seems to be someone who's getting into art. We have probably a lot of aspiring artists, hopefully watching us tonight or on the replay club. You know, why go AI when there is so much? Why do you think they would go AI when there's so much talent out there that would just be almost willing to do it for probably even less than what they paid for the software, and probably be better.
Oh yeah, there's people do stuff for free just for promotion, for elevation, for people to see their stuff. Absolutely. Um, this is the thing. AI art is here, and it is a technology that we're going to have to learn to deal with. Now, to me, and me and another guy was talking about this earlier just today and yesterday. It is a good tool. That's probably what it was started out to be. I don't know what the intentions were on it.
Hmm.
Artists have always used references. There was a time before computers where I had like magazine stacks that I would use for reference. If I was doing an 18 wheeler, I had to have something to look at, and especially in the early infancy of the internet, you had to have photo references, and AI would have been something really good for that. But now you've got people who are taking the AI and they're trying to pass it off as their work or pass it off as original work. and they think that it flies because it is, you know, they put the prompt in. You know, it doesn't work like that, you know, but you know, whereas you got a real artist who has worked, and anybody who is an artist or a creator of any type will tell you this. I mean, it is such a craft that you have to really level it up. You have to hone it. You have to constantly work at it. I mean, you just have to. And
Mhm.
then for somebody who's not really that good, and all of a sudden, then they start putting out all this realistic looking artwork, you know, obviously. And you can, I mean, you can tell when stuff is AI. I will say that companies and industries, I work in the t-shirt screen printing industry. It is a big national company that I work for my day job, and they promote using AI, and you have to almost use it because of the time that, you know, like you have to use it for backgrounds and those sort of things. And that's what we're looking at, guys. That's where we are. You know, uh, companies are going to be using these things, but what I'm talking about, what bothers me is when you move it from being a tool to starting to try to use it as your supposedly your work. Okay.
Mhm.
And you're entering contests with it, and
Go for it. Let it out. We know where you're
yeah,
going with this.
yeah, I mean, that is not that's not fair. It's not right. It's not fair to the people who have put in all the time and the work and the sweat and the tears. Because I'm gonna tell you, you know, when people do something and they spend so much time on something, it becomes very important to them. And that's why some people can't handle the criticism, is because their soul is wrapped up into it. And then you've got this guy who comes along and presses a button and makes something that doesn't have any soul or any investment in it. You know, it just feels, it feels bad. You know, it feels icky.
Yeah. And what he was
Um,
referring to for the contest, this actually just happened recently. A lot of you guys, especially if you follow a lot of artists, McFarlane did a contest where drawing Spawn, and I know a lot of people personally who actually entered that contest. And one of the supposed winners of that contest was an AI artist. So
yeah.
when they start publishing that there is an AI,
Admittedly,
Mhm.
he didn't
like
even cheat. It's like
yeah, did not even try to hide it or anything. But I'll
it
say
was a
this, you
barbecue
know,
contest with a pellet grill.
we're at the early stages of this, even still. There was a time when I came into t-shirt art where when I first started doing t-shirt art, I was 15 years old. It was back in the 90s. Computers were just starting to get on the scene. I watched people who had been color separating for t-shirts for 40 years the same way.
Mhm.
And then computers got into it, and within 5 years all those people lost their jobs because they did not go forward and try to learn computers and learn how to acclimate to the times.
Really?
Mhm.
And I had one friend who had been doing it for 30 years, and he went into back to school to be a mortician. I mean, I don't know how you get from,
Hey.
Well, I
you
mean,
know, doing art
you
for
look
more.
at you look at
I mean,
animation today. You know, this new X-Men cartoon coming out. Everyone's saying the art's a little weird. It's because yes, it's actually being a lot of it is being done by CG. I'm
well,
huge. I used to be huge into anime, and almost all the anime today is done with CG. The
yep.
last anime that I know of that was done by hand was one called Redline, which is absolutely gorgeous, by the way. But that's one of the last ones I know that was actually a hand drawn anime for the cells.
Well, that's color separation and stuff, but then later you get the tablets where you can actually draw directly into the computer. And then,
Mhm.
you know, everything started seeing digital artists. And then you know, there was these people who were like, they wouldn't accept digital art. And even today, you know, people will see some of my stuff and they'll be like, man, this looks really good. Oh, is it digital? I'm like, yeah. They're like, oh. It's like
Mm.
it's like they
Wow.
still haven't lost the
That's
stigma
that's amazing.
of and here we are way past the fact. And I believe with AI, before this thing settles down and finds its place and how we're going to have to go forward with it, because there's a level of it we're going to have to acclimate to.
Right.
I don't know what it's going to be. I have my own feelings about it. I don't know what other people feel about it. And I think that's the thing, is eventually we'll all get to a place where this is the line, no further, and everybody agrees on it. But right now, everybody's kind of, some people are all for it, some people aren't. Some people are saying, oh, it's here, we can't do anything about it. I know the thing can't do certain things yet. My feeling is, and I don't want to sound apocalyptic or anything, but by the time that thing is really able to do some of the stuff that I do and do it really, really good, to where I lose my job, I think we're going to be worried about worse things that it can do.
Agreed.
That's not artwork. I'm talking. I think we'll be running from it. I tell my wife all the time, you better be nice to Alexa, because eventually she's gonna have a body and she's gonna remember all this stuff you say about her.
There you go.
I'm respectful.
Well,
So
speaking of art, now let us talk about these lovely images.
yes,
because toy collecting, I mean, with your, again, interacting with the community, you have been kind of getting out there. This is kind of like a new medium to get your art out. And I just want to ask you what it felt like getting this in your hand, physically seeing a box with your amazing artwork on it.
Oh man. Well, first of all, I was floored whenever, and whenever I was approached to do it. I mean, I had been doing stuff, but I never expected to actually be able to do it. And this is a dream come true, just like the comics. I remember in 1983 reading Secret Wars is when I first got the notion. I couldn't even hardly read yet. I was going by just what I saw in the pictures, but I knew whatever this is what I want to do. And then, and it started from there. The toys that I was buying, I would look at the packaging and all that stuff, and it's always been a thing I've always wanted to do. And I started doing some work for Ryan over at 3POA. Started doing some stuff for his YouTube channel and all that, and then we started talking, and and just back and forth, and then eventually, we go into, hey, wouldn't it be funny if, and it went into Action Force, and and then from there it kind of grew. Man, whenever I got the job, I was just floored, and I was so grateful. And let me tell you something. In this industry, and any artist that is in this chat right now or that's going to watch this video, they'll tell you getting paid to do your art is hard to do. There's so many people out there, and that's one of the reasons I have been to quite a few cons and stuff. And let me tell you, everybody, when you're able to do something, everybody has a pitch, but they have no pay. They have no payment method. They have no, we're just going to do this because it's cool. Well, I can be poor and do cool stuff by myself, So, or they want to pay you at the end, or, let me tell you this, guys, you don't hire somebody to build you a house and, oh, I'll give it to you at the end. They got to have money for materials. They got to have money for their time, and for some reason, the art industry, people just don't really look at it very serious. They think you're just having fun and you're playing, and they're kind of true. But at the same time, this is a craft. This is something that costs me time. It costs me my time with my kids, and time I could be doing something else. Let me tell you something about Bobby Vela. He paid for each one of these, and it was before he asked me, hey, let me tell you, I was thinking this number, and then I was fixing to give it to him. He says, well, look, this is what I'm going to pay you. And it was like, I'm obviously not gonna say what it was, but he gave me going rate.
Okay.
And that said more to me than anything, a man who will pay for the stuff that he asked for. That was awesome. And he was very good to work with. He's been very good to work with. So, and I'm not, trying to kiss butt or whatever. I'm just saying how it is. That made such an impression on me because one of the biggest fights you have as an artist is the whole payment issue. So,
So working with this series, did he kind of help, or I mean, I guess I could say, what type of input did Bobby Valla kind of give you in regards to setting up Series 4 and the box art and the combat profiles? Were there things like he said, hey, can you make sure you just hit this? Or is he kind of like, here's the people that's going to be in the wave, show me what you got?
Well, it was actually a little bit of all that. He gave me some product shots to look at, and he just said, "Hey, see what you come up with." So that was another good thing. And the one thing you got to realize about Bobby is he is, from a comic artist background, and so he knew just by looking at my work where I was at. So that kind of put us kind of on the same page there.
Okay.
But so he knew how to talk to me and knew how to relate his ideas. Just put it that way. We're kind of on the same page to begin with. So he gave me the product shots. He told me, see what you can do with this. And then the way I do work, and I'm talking if I'm doing a $20 job, if I'm doing a 50, 100, whatever it is, I always give somebody a really rough idea to show them this is what I'm thinking for what you want. And then they look at it and they approve it. And then I'll tighten it up a little bit, give it a little bit more form, a little bit more detail. I'll send it back to them. And I just consistently do that all the way up till we get to the inking. Because the inking is when it's starting to get engraved. It's starting to get set in stone. From here on out, are you sure this is what you want? Because this is
Ink
where
is
it's
permanent.
going. Yep. And then especially then after the inking, I go to the color and I'm like, you kind of like this palette? What do you think? And a lot of times some people are like, no, I don't like it. Some people will, no, whatever you do is fine with me. But that's kind of the way he was. I'd send him stuff and he'd be like, yeah, good. He'd give me the thumbs up and we just go like that. There was a few edits from time to time, like, hey, the camo looks like this and I want it to look a little more like this. That's natural stuff you're going to run into, because that's camo. Some people are real sticklers about camo. Some people are real sticklers about every rivet in a gun and where they are located. So you have to be real careful about that. And we're talking about a real world military line. So that's one thing that I wanted to make for sure that was, really good.
Okay. So you said about some edits and whatnot, and I'm looking at the Arctic Warfare Republic Guard image. Fantastic work. Some things in the comment section or in in social media circles in the groups when they received it, there was a little bit of a hesitancy or a question about the color selection for the green. Now, obviously, if you had the figure in hand, and I'm really trying to look for mine right now to show up, but on the box art, it's not as similar. And they're
It's
like,
not
why
the
is it not this?
minty green.
Yes. So what can you kind of talk through the decision making for that? Was there a reason for the discrepancy, or is it just kind of how it printed out?
I'm pretty sure that is how it printed out. Anytime that you do a piece of artwork, you have to be really careful about, and this is even true. This is something that we constantly have in the printing industry in general, because I'm in the printing industry as a whole, and I'm talking even monitors, from monitor to monitor. Whatever looks like something on your monitor could look different on my monitor if my monitor is calibrated. Then you're talking about the difference in the calibration of the printers from printer to printer. So I could have it and I'm gonna tell you, whenever he sent the product shots over, I color picked from the product shots.
Gotcha.
Okay.
So I had like his thing over here, and I had my canvas right here, and I was taking from the colors just for that, even when it got into the shadows and stuff.
Mhm.
And so that it's the thing that will always, I don't see how it will ever not be a thing in printing in general. And I'm talking about t-shirts, cups, magazines, anything.
Okay.
But yeah, I totally agree with that.
So I guess the other question I have to go with this is not going to be a one-off series of your artwork, hopefully, right? We're going to see
I
future series, maybe, possibly.
Well, I don't maybe there. May maybe we do some more going forward. We talk all the time about different stuff. So,
Hmm.
we'll see what shakes out. There's other people at the same time that I'm talking to doing different stuff with. So you're
Oh,
gonna see
really?
a lot more of my stuff. And I'm telling you, ever since, like I'd said before, ever since, and I recommend this to anybody, ever since I said I'm going to be a producer, not just a consumer,
Hmm.
my stuff has multiplied like exponentially as far as the stuff that I've been able to do, the places I've been able to go. I mean, there was a time, guys, I was playing ESO, and I had my character, and I was playing Diablo and all, and I had my character up to, the full on levels and all that kind of stuff. But my house was terrible. You know, this little virtual character was, had all this armor and had all his sets on and worked, perfectly, and it was fun and everything. But at the same time, that was time that I could have been leveling myself up. And I
Hmm.
just suggest to everybody, hey, game, have fun, but if you want to do something, get out and do something, and if you're really passionate about it, then go do it. Don't let your likes and your wants, hold you back from it. So
Well, you well said. And 3POA veteran there, V Conley, another great guy. I met him and his lovely girlfriend.
yeah, I did the Bobby
Said
Ballad
you did a
maybe.
Bobby Ballad, maybe.
Yeah.
And going into your day job, Cato wants to know when he can get some Action Force underoos.
Well, yeah, probably we'll have those out pretty quickly. In the product shots, we've got some Depends that we're working on. So, yeah, we're hoping to get a whole line of different coffee mugs and Depends and undies and
So
two-piece
speaking
bathing suit.
of
Yeah.
Action Farce, I mean, you're doing some amazing stuff with the community, with the
Well, I
whole
love it. And listen, guys, the whole thing with Action Force, it was something lighthearted, funny, for 3POA, but it was also a little way to promote more than just 3POA. Because if you notice, there's Chad, there's Kato,
Mm-hmm.
there's the Ma'am, there's
the Cato thing brought the whole book down, but I mean,
yeah.
So how did you choose the team, or did it just kind of organically come out through, like you said, the conversations within your circles of trust and and whatnot? I mean,
Well, when I do artwork, I have YouTube on constantly. I don't watch a lot of new things because I don't because you get into the narrative of a show or a movie or something, and then you get to watching it or listening to it a little too closely. With YouTube, people are talking, and it's not something that you have to, what I'm saying, follow along with as closely as like a story narrative.
you've never watched what a Junkie on
mhm.
Crafts builds reviews, sir. You want to pay
Yeah,
attention to those.
but that's what it was. I put in
Mine,
people
no one pays attention to.
that I had been listening to, and it being Action Force, I made sure that it was people who were, Action Force, people who enjoyed it, people who liked it, and
Mm-hmm.
it just kind of went from there. And then, of course, I went through Ryan. Hey, what do you think about this? And then eventually to Bobby, who do you, what do you think about this person? And it's like, it's the green light or the red light, or and there was hardly any red lights, by the way, because we all pretty much agreed on everybody that was in it, and
Mhm.
it was a thing. It was a promotion for 3POA, and it will be a promotion for 3POA, but in the coming future, I'll just say that
Okay.
as things progress. But it'll also be something that is for got a little bit of promotion for everybody, for anybody who's involved. And that's what I wanted, is to form that, get us all talking, get community going, and
Mhm.
strengthen the community and get everybody talking, because I think it's just
Awesome.
good, because we're all doing the same thing.
Mhm.
We were all kind of raised around the same time period. We all kind of like most of the same things. And, you know, uh, that is special. That puts us, a lot of times, a lot of my friends around here, they don't collect anything. They think, I remember when my sister walked in here, bless her heart, she walked in here and into my collector room. She's like, and she was looking around and she looked a little scared at first. And she said, well, everybody has their thing.
Well,
But
it's
like,
funny how you're saying how we're all
yeah,
the same. I guarantee you go to a toy convention, and about 85% of that con is going to be filled with guys looking just like me, gray
right.
hair, goatee, black t-shirt,
Absolutely.
and a pair of comfy
And we
jeans.
and we can talk about things that would be totally lost on anybody else, that's from 30, 40 years ago. We don't even know each other, but here we're talking about episode number whatever,
Yeah.
and or a toy that came out, and maybe there's something that you know about it that I don't know about, and it's just, we're talking,
Exactly.
Mhm.
and we don't
So,
even know each other. That's, it's kind of the glue that ties us together. It's awesome, and that's
so
what I love.
without spoiling anything, because I want to ask first off, for those that have not had a chance to read your comic of Action Farce, how can they get a copy of it?
Well, right now it's available through membership at the 3POA podcast. It is, if you go over there, it's simple to join. You can even, I think there's the tater tot level and there's the potato level, I
I
think.
think
I
it's a
can't
loaded
remember.
potato or something.
But I think as soon as you join, whatever you join, and you could just join for 1 month, read the comic or whatever. I mean, for
Mhm.
$2, you'd have the comic and you'd be able to have it available to you and read it. It's about 10 pages, I believe. And there's other work that comes out. There's other stuff that's going to come out. There is,
Awesome.
I can tell you, there's going to be more where that came from. It took us a while to decide whether, we wanted to see what the reception was. Reception was really
Mhm.
good. And so we're not doing any printing, though. Remember, guys, this is kind of parody. It is
Mhm.
kind of its own thing, but it was always meant to be the Spaceballs to George Lucas's Star Wars. Okay, and
Valid.
one of the
Cool.
stipulations, very smartly, that George Lucas did: you can do this, Mel, but no merchandising. Okay, so that's the thing.
Absolutely.
There's not going to be a printed, or unless crazily a lot of people say stuff to Bobby
You gotta
and it gets
if you do it.
canonized.
And it gets
Hey,
You
maybe.
could do what they did in Spaceballs, where they did the merchandise thing, and just everyone's always complaining, "Dude, I was supposed to get the issue. It's always sold out."
right?
Yes.
And apparently, we have a request to get Kato in a smoking jacket.
Yes.
Yes.
Well,
All right.
for those that have not read it, I highly recommend it. It is a lot of laughs, and without spoiling anything, the villain, I died laughing the first time when that main page came up, and it
You'll
was
never
who
see
it
it
was.
coming. Yeah.
So,
It
but
was
I
me.
think that also kind of leads in what you're saying in regards to community and outreach and reaching out, because not only have you had this very successful comic and other pinups like we show in here, but you also are kind of staying current, because one of the things you were saying about independent companies and doing something that you want to do, we see a lot of this new Kickstarter stuff. Valaverse was one of those items.
Mhm.
Animal Warriors
Hey,
of a Kingdom,
Yeah, Kato, we mentioned
now
it.
on their second Kickstarter, which is going off like crazy. But in the middle here, we have from the Mad Hatter, Flipor. And I thank you for letting us show this image because it is absolutely fantastic.
Well, he did post it. Had he not posted it, I would have not mentioned it. Just out of respect for him, because I treat everything that way. But he did post it, so we'll be doing some stuff. Not sure the level. We're still talking about everything with that, but I think it's hilarious, the whole the whole idea and the storyline behind all this. And I'm really enjoying all of his things that he's putting out, of these new things that he's doing and coming out with. And I can't wait to see where it goes. But yeah, we're doing a lot of talking, and I love it. I love doing all this stuff. I talked to Jason quite a bit. I talked Benivu, and I'm just glad that I'm even considered to do any of this stuff. And it's just such a ball to talk to these guys. And I tell you, these people. Let me tell you about these guys, these creators. They're pretty amazing, because it is one thing to do artwork or to create something. I'm talking about Bobby Vela. I'm talking about Jason Benivu. I'm talking about even Mad Hatter now, who is just like, man, just this thing is taking off. I'm talking about Ramen Toy, all these guys. It's one thing to create something, but to take that creation and take it out to people and show them, and to get them enthusiastic about it, that's a totally different thing. That's where the real work comes in, because you're not just sitting there drawing. You're not just sitting there making stuff up. You're actually having to talk to people. You're having to sell them on an idea without them thinking you're selling them, something, and getting them excited about it. And these guys have done it, and that takes a lot of drive, because let me tell you, artwork forces you into a solitary life, because you are by yourself when you're doing it most of the time, and you're not talking to a lot of people. And that's why a lot of artists are very shut off from people, and because they're doing something that's so solitary most of the time. But then you tell them all of a sudden, well, now you've done the comic book, or now you've done the creation, now you've got to go look out there and make people aware of it and tell them about it. And that's where a lot of people, I can't do that, they fail. But these guys are doing it, and they're not only pushing it. It'll be as successful as you make it, as much work as you put into it, as how far it'll go. But if you can get other people excited about it, they'll push it and share your load. And they've done it. And I just think I was talking to Jason just today, telling him how amazing I thought it was what he's done with that whole IP, just following along and sticking with it, and just being stubborn about it, and pushing it. I mean, it's awesome.
So is it kind of harken back to, as you're saying, these creative masterminds and what they're doing? I mean, we saw the same thing 30 plus years ago with McFarlane, where it was basically name and an idea, and next thing you know, he's producing a toy here and there, and now we're looking 30 years later at his success. It's mind-boggling. And again, meeting Jason at face-to-face conventions, just the salt of the earth, really nice, super humble about things. I wish nothing but success for all these guys that are braving it out and doing what you're saying, taking an idea and just going forward with it. Because I'm on the other end with my wallet going, okay, you got me. You got me.
It's amazing. And that's the thing is, they're genuine. They love what they're doing. I mean, Jason, he loves AWOT, and Bobby, he loves Action Force. He loves what he's doing, and you can tell it by how adamant they are and how protective of it they are. And it's their babies. And I just think it's amazing. And it also at the same time kind of makes me afraid of success because I see the kind of work that they have to put in to this, and it ought to make everybody think, do I really, what am I really doing whatever I'm doing for,
and I think you need a little bit of that edge. And I know, as someone who's seen a lot of the stuff going on, the 3POA have a reputation as being a little bit of the bad boys because specifically under Bobby with a chip, he's got his chip on his shoulder. But I think, it's kind of that passion that you're talking about into what's going on. Now, sometimes, the edge can be a little sharper than expected. But as you said, you kind of need it. You need to balance out what you want to represent into the public for yourself and show your passion in a way that's going to draw people in. It's not going to draw everyone, and that's fine, but it's go ahead, Dave, please.
Well, I was going to say, so I guess where I want to know is now, obviously you can't say everything. Obviously there's things you would love to say, but probably can't.
Yeah.
But what's next? Where will we? I mean, will we see you with other companies? Do we have actual published art? What with anything, or if you're supposed to say, will we see more of you in the industry? If you want to drop us a trademark body statement, go ahead.
There's definitely going to be 3 different things coming out that you're going to be seeing soon.
Awesome.
But that's as far as I could go. And then there's other things that I'm talking to people about.
So I'm going to see some stuff. I'm going to see more stuff here that when I'm holding the box, I'll be like, "Hey, I know that guy."
Yep. I talked to that guy.
Awesome.
Yep. And let me tell you, it's amazing to me. It's amazing to me that I've been able to be blessed enough to be a part of all this. I mean, because I love collecting, I love art, I love what I do, and another thing too, I only do what I like because I have a day job, and I have responsibilities, and if I'm going to be spending time away from my family and my, out of my whatever time, it's got to be something that really hooks me. And I love it. I just love it. And I love that, that people would even ask for me to do stuff for them. And I don't have like an inferiority complex or anything, but guys, there's a lot of artists out there. And, I'm just floored to, I'm grateful. So
well, there's a lot of podcasts you could have been on. And we're not going to have an inferiority complex. Okay, I actually do have an inferiority complex. Come on, guys. I want to get to 500. Come on. No.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
We thank you so much for taking your time. Thank you for being part of this industry, of being part of this community, allowing us to be part of it. And I just think this is, on that note, this is a good spot on the break on. So first of all, so thank you for coming out, Mike. Thank you for putting this together.
Oh, it was serendipitous to say the least, because all I did was randomly message him saying, "Hey, can we talk?" And I actually was floored when I got a response, and I'm so humbled for that, Quinton. So thank you very much.
Well, I appreciate it.
Like I said, Dave said, coming on board tonight, talking to us.
And
I really enjoyed it, guys. Thank you so much. And y'all are going to be on my playlist whenever I'm doing whatever I'm doing. So,
thank you for that.
Junkyard Crafts and Builds, True Star Screamer, Figure Action Podcast. I want to thank everybody who's in on the live chat tonight, and Kato. He's a great guy. Kato is one of the nicest people I've ever met.
Yeah, he is.
I want to thank everybody who's going to be catching this on the replay. If you are new to the Figure Action community, please hit that subscribe button. If you're here, of course, enjoying this podcast, hit that like button. We've got links below to Quinton's Instagram. He's also on DeviantArt. Of course, this has been simultaneously broadcast on Mike's channel. I just forgot to hijack it for my channel, but
that's dang it. I was thinking about that. I'm sorry, Dave. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
But also on what's your other socials, if anything? They're just
that's pretty much it. Facebook, I've got 2 Facebook pages, Quinton J Bedwell on Facebook, and also QB Illustrations. You can find me on QB Illustrations if you want just to see more illustrations. Usually when people will say, "Hey, do you have a portfolio?" I just point them to that. Okay. I mean, I've thought about doing a website, but it's kind of a waste. You got this, social platform.
That's the thing I want to mention. I mentioned it before. The 3 words: print on demand. Have you ever considered doing a print on demand art book?
I have actually, and I'm every time I start doing it, I start then some stuff comes up and I get busy. So
Okay, that was where before I mentioned print on demand. Like that's something that artists should do. But awesome. Well, again, then.
So, I was going to say, are you still open for commissions, or is the work now coming up more and more? But if
it's
someone
a little
was
tough.
interested,
Don't be afraid to message me. It's what I tell people. If sometimes I get a few spaces, little increments of spaces. I work pretty fast and I barely ever sleep. So so if I have the time to do it, I will do it. So don't be afraid to message me a description, or chances are I might be able to do it. So
Awesome.
great.
Well,
Go ahead, Dave, please.
I was going. I did the startup. If you want to do the wrap up.
Okay. Well, I mean, again, we can say it as often as we want because it's a great honor again to talk to you, and share your creativity that we've been blessed with to see, and hear your story from starting with just reading your own comic to having an action figure that is sold off on by your artwork. It's a true blessing, and you have a God-given skill that we are all fortunate to see. And I'm happy to hear your progression from medical difficulties to full recovery to being so ingrained into the toy and comic community that it just sounds like you're going to be busy for a long time. And I love hearing that.
awesome.
So again, if people reach out to you on your socials, I hear you're going to be on another podcast. So I'm kind of cool. We got the ball rolling here, and we're going to see you and hear you more often on YouTube and everything. So hopefully that's going to be, if Ryan would actually be your real friend, he would have brought you on the show a while ago, I'm sure. But
no, I don't ask him, and I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. He's got I don't know what's wrong with that dude.
It's the Washington State thing. That's all.
Yeah,
Not him.
yeah. Some Seattle people, they're drinking different water and living a different life than the rest of us. So
you're not lying. Well, with that, everyone, I think Dave, as always, we click so well, and I'm glad you allowed me to come on here and do these reactions. I love talking to the community. Hopefully, we're going to get some more creative people in here.
Yes.
Not only do we have artistry, but we have photographers that I'm hoping to get on here as well and talk about their craft with making these toys come alive. So guys, again, please hit subscribe if you like, and we're going to work hard to kind of give you great shows like we had tonight. And again, Mr. Bedwell, thank you again.
Thanks, guys. It was fun.
Awesome.
I had a good time.
All right, then. All right. Everyone, have a pleasant evening, and we'll see you around. Peace.
Good night, everyone.